"If you stay, I'll destroy this marriage," my mother-in-law threatened when I tried to break free from her control. "Fine. Have it your way," I smiled. She lit up when my husband announced the divorce, but when he kept talking, she lost it. "What? Are you out of your mind?" "My name is Charlotte. I'm 31, a project coordinator at a mid-sized architectural firm in Seattle. I've always prided myself on being calm under pressure, tight deadlines, picky clients, last-minute blueprint changes. I could handle it all. What I wasn't prepared for was the emotional demolition that came with marriage. 6 months ago, I married David. He worked in IT back when I first joined the firm, the quiet guy who always fixed your system without making you feel dumb. We weren't close, but I remembered his kindness. That changed a year ago. We were both assigned to a cross-departmental digital renovation project. We started talking, first about work, then about music, then about life. He was calm, funny in a dry way, and steady. After the project ended, we kept getting coffee. By spring, we were dating. By fall, engaged. David proposed with a simple silver ring and a rambling letter that ended with, "Life with you just makes more sense." It felt right. No red flags, no drama. For once, love seemed simple. For the first few weeks, it was. We moved into a cozy 2-bedroom rental on a tree-lined street. I bought new cookware. He assembled our bookshelf. We split chores without arguing. And then, almost without warning, came the third resident in our marriage, his mother, Sarah. At first, I didn't think much of it. Sarah came by with a casserole. She brought lemon muffins one Sunday morning. She'd call and say, "Thought I'd drop something off," and I'd smile politely, even when she stayed longer than she should have. But within 2 weeks, she started arriving daily. I'm not exaggerating. Every weekday, precisely at 5:10 p.m., I'd hear the doorbell. I'd be home, having just kicked off my heels, halfway through chopping vegetables, and there she'd be, makeup perfect, eyes scanning the kitchen like a drill sergeant inspecting barracks. "Risotto again?" she scoffed on Tuesday. "You really think David should eat this mush?" I blinked. "It's his favorite." "Sweetheart, favorite doesn't mean healthy. A real wife makes a protein, a carb, and 2 vegetables. Back in my day, dinner meant effort." I forced a smile. "I was going to grill salmon later in the week." "And what is this?" She rummaged through my reusable grocery bag. "Off-brand olive oil?" "Oh, no. You should use organic. The toxins in this stuff." I snatched the bottle from her hand. "I'm trying to keep to a budget." Sarah gave me a slow, pitiful look. Budgeting is what women do when they're planning a family. Unless that's not your plan. That was only day 4. By day 8, she was no longer knocking. She let herself in with the spare key she had for emergencies and make herself at home. "I got here early," she said once, feet propped on our couch, flipping through my design magazines. "I figured you wouldn't mind." I minded. But worse than the intrusion were the comments. Small, sharp jabs dressed as concern. "You're still working full-time? No wonder you haven't gotten pregnant. Some women just weren't raised to be homemakers, I guess. It's not your fault, really. If you can't handle stress, maybe David should have married someone simpler." Each word chipped away at my sanity. I told David. Multiple times. "She's just adjusting," he said. "Adjusting to what?" I asked. "We're not living with her." "She's invading our space. I'll talk to her." But he didn't. Or if he did, it made no difference. She kept coming, kept criticizing, kept prying. Eventually, I started avoiding home. I'd stay late at work even if I had nothing to do. I'd sit at a coffee shop across the street from our building, sipping overpriced lattes just to kill time. It was costing me emotionally and financially. When my supervisor noticed I was hanging around unnecessarily, he pulled me aside. "You know we don't pay overtime, right?" he said gently. I nodded. I like the quiet here." He gave me a look, the kind that says, "I know there's more, but I won't ask." But I knew something had to change. One Friday, I decided to go home on time. Enough hiding, enough avoiding. I needed to confront this woman head-on. When I walked up the path to our porch, there she was, standing smugly in front of the door like she owned the place. "Oh, look, it's the prodigal wife," she said. "Gave up playing hide-and-seek, did you?" I said nothing. She followed me in, immediately inspecting my grocery bags. "More risotto ingredients?" she mocked. "Do you even know what nutrients are?" I turned to her slowly. Sarah, please. Stop. Stop what? Coming here. Insulting me. Telling me how to run my marriage. You're not helping. Her face hardened. You think I'm the problem? I took a breath. You come into our home uninvited. You criticize my cooking, my job, my body. You treat me like I'm some placeholder until a better wife comes along. She narrowed her eyes. David is my son. I raised him to expect excellence. You're a career girl with no maternal instinct. Of course you can't get pregnant. You're too busy running spreadsheets. I stiffened. I haven't gotten pregnant because I'm too stressed. And most of that stress is coming from you. That hit her. For a moment she said nothing. Then she leaned forward and hissed, You want to talk back? Fine. You want to challenge me? Then get out. Divorce David. Today, I'm not divorcing him because you can't respect boundaries. No, she said, stepping closer. You'll divorce him because I'll make you. If you don't leave, I will burn this marriage to the ground. And David? He'll believe me before he believes you. Something snapped in me. I smiled, calmly. Fine, I said. You want me gone? You'll get your wish. I grabbed my coat, walked past her, and got into my car. Not to leave, to strike back. I drove straight to the city office. I didn't file for divorce, but I requested the paperwork. Then I texted David. We need to talk. It's about your mother. Meet me in 30 at the cafe on Alder. That night would change everything. And for once, I wasn't afraid. I was ready. David arrived at the cafe 5 minutes late. He looked like he'd run the whole way, cheeks flushed, hair wind-blown, eyes searching the room until they landed on me. I sat at a table in the back, hands folded, phone screen face down. He slid into the booth across from me. What happened? He asked breathlessly. Are you okay? Is it my mom again? I tilted my head. Let's not waste time. His face tensed. That bad? Instead of answering, I unlocked my phone and tapped the screen. His mother's voice filled the small space between us. You think I'll let you ruin my son's life? You're a mistake he married. If you won't quit your job, I'll make sure your boss thinks you want to. Divorce him, or I'll make your life a nightmare. David froze. His lips parted slightly, but he said nothing. When I looked up, I saw something flicker in his expression. Disbelief, yes, but under it, shame. He reached for the phone. I pulled it back. I've been recording her for the past week, I said evenly, because I knew you wouldn't believe me unless you heard it. He shook his head. I never thought she'd go that far. I knew she was pushy, but she's not pushy, David. She's abusive. She's manipulative, and she's actively trying to sabotage our marriage and my career. He rubbed his forehead. I should have listened. Yes, I said, but now you've heard it. So the question is, what are you going to do about it? Silence stretched between us like piano wire. Then, what do you want me to do? I took a breath. If you want to save this marriage, we need to burn it down first. His eyes snapped to mine. What does that mean? It means we divorce. Officially. Then we start over. On our terms. No Sarah, no control, no pretending this didn't happen. He was quiet for a long time. Then finally, let's do it. We drove to the city clerk's office together. We filled out the forms, handed over our IDs, signed the papers. No fight, no yelling, just paperwork. I thought I might cry when I wrote my name under petitioner, but I didn't. I felt calm, almost focused. 25 minutes later, we stood at the same counter. We'd like to file a marriage application, I said. The clerk blinked. You just filed for divorce. Yes, I said. We're remarrying. She looked at us like we were either brilliant or unhinged, but nodded. You're legally allowed to do that immediately since the divorce isn't finalized yet. We filled out the forms again. When we got to the name section, David paused. He looked at me. Do you want to stay Charlotte Miller? I hesitated, then shook my head. No, that name never felt like mine. I want to be me again. He smiled slowly. Then I want to be part of that family. And just like that, David changed his last name to mine. We left the building not just as a couple, but as a new unit. A fresh contract, a symbolic reset. Not Charlotte and David her mother's way, but ours. We planned our next move carefully. We didn't call Sarah. We didn't warn her. Instead, we called ahead to his parents' house and said we were coming by Sunday afternoon. She sounded thrilled on the phone. Overly thrilled. She thought she'd won. When we arrived, Sarah opened the door in full pearls and pink mode. Her lipstick was fresh, her perfume cloud thick, her smile theatrical. "Well, well, well," she sang. "Looks like someone's come to her senses." I gave her nothing. Inside, the living room was spotless. A plate of cookies sat untouched on the coffee table. And there, in his usual recliner, sat David's father, Adam, flipping through the Sunday paper like he hadn't noticed the brewing storm. Sarah turned to us as we stepped inside. "Now," she said sweetly, "let's be civil. Every marriage has rough patches. I'm just glad you two came back to talk." David's jaw clenched. I touched his hand lightly. It was time. He took a step forward. "We did talk," he said, "and we made a decision." Sarah tilted her head like a curious cat. "Oh?" David glanced at me, then back at her. "We filed for divorce." Her smile twitched but didn't fade. "Well, I'm not surprised." "You know, I've always thought—" "And then," he said firmly, "we remarried. To each other that landed." Her eyes flinched before her mouth caught up. "I'm sorry, what?" "I took her last name," David added. "Legally." Her face dropped fully now. You changed your name?" "To hers, yes. As a fresh start. One without your influence." "You ungrateful little—" Her voice cracked, but she masked it with a laugh. "David, don't be ridiculous." I stepped forward. "This isn't about names. It's about boundaries. And yours no longer exist in our lives. You think you can come into my family," she snapped, "and tell me how to behave?" "In my house?" "I think I can hold you accountable for harassment," I said, "because that's what this is." "Oh, please," she scoffed. "What are you going to do?" "Sue me?" I didn't answer. I just pulled out my phone. I tapped one of the audio files and let it play. "If you don't leave, I'll burn this marriage to the ground." "He'll believe me before he believes you." Sarah's eyes darted to the speaker. For a second, she looked ready to lunge for it, but before she could speak, someone else did. Adam stood up. He moved with a kind of deliberate calm, folding his newspaper in half and placing it neatly on the coffee table. The room felt like it shifted, not just in silence, but in weight. Sarah turned to him slowly, her expression finally cracking. "Adam," she said lightly, too lightly, "you're not seriously listening to this nonsense." "I heard your voice, Sarah," he said, cutting her off. "We all did." She blinked. "It's edited. Twisted. You know how phones distort things." David stepped forward. "Don't lie, Mom. I've been hearing you say these things my entire life. The only difference now is that someone finally recorded you." Sarah's smile thinned into a grimace. "You're really going to take her side over your own mother?" Adam looked at her long and hard, then turned to me. "Charlotte," he said, "I want to apologize." I froze. "No one should have had to deal with that," he continued, "especially not someone who came into this family in good faith." "You didn't deserve it." I nodded, a lump in my throat. "Thank you." Sarah scoffed. "What is this? A courtroom now? Am I on trial?" "No," said Adam, "but if you ever show up at their house again, I'm filing for divorce." The room dropped into dead silence. Sarah's mouth opened, but no sound came out. "You don't mean that," she finally choked. "I do," he said simply. "You've spent years bullying everyone around you, including me. I let it slide for too long. I won't let it slide anymore. You can't survive without me." Adam chuckled softly. "That's what you always said. But I think we both know I've been surviving in spite of you, not because of you." Sarah looked between us, her husband, her son, and me, and for once in her life, she had nothing to say. Her face collapsed into a kind of stunned vacancy, like she no longer knew which version of reality she was living in. We didn't stay to console her. David and I turned and walked out, not in anger, not in victory, but in finality. The next morning, we started looking for a new apartment. The one we chose wasn't fancy, smaller kitchen, older windows, but it had clean light, thick walls, and a front door that only we had keys to. We painted the walls ourselves. David insisted on a deep navy for the bedroom, so it always feels like night. I chose pale sage for the living room, soft and calming. We didn't invite Sarah. We didn't give her the address. She tried to email twice, both messages half apology, half blame. I didn't reply. She didn't try again. Adam, however, called. He asked to come by. Just him. He brought homemade lasagna, awkward and quiet at first, but slowly warming. He said he was grateful for the chance to be part of our lives without the noise. He didn't mention Sarah, and we didn't ask. We agreed wordlessly to let some things stay buried. 3 months later, something changed. I was in the middle of a meeting at work when I realized I hadn't had coffee in days. I usually lived on caffeine, but lately it made me queasy. I chalked it up to stress or bad milk. But then I started crying at a dog food commercial. I picked up a pregnancy test on the way home, not expecting anything. I took it before dinner, almost absent-mindedly. 2 lines. I sat on the edge of the tub in stunned silence, the stick still in my hand. David knocked on the door asking if I was okay. When I opened it, he saw the test in my hand and froze. "You're—" I nodded, tears welling in my eyes. He didn't speak. He just wrapped his arms around me and held on like I was made of glass and gold at the same time. The pregnancy went smoothly. No complications, no chaos. I worked until my 3rd trimester, then transitioned into remote consulting. David rearranged his schedule so he could attend appointments with me. Adam came with us twice, just sat in the waiting room reading a magazine, then brought us sandwiches afterward. When our daughter was born, we named her Clara. It was my grandmother's name, soft, strong, simple. Sarah found out through Adam. She sent a gift basket with no card. I gave it away unopened. She showed up once at the hospital, unannounced. We had told the nurses not to let her in, and they didn't. She waited in the parking lot for over an hour. Adam finally went outside and spoke to her. She left. That was the last time she tried. Clara's first year was quiet. No surprise visits, no late-night arguments, just the gentle rhythm of new parenthood, feedings, midnight cries, sleepy smiles, soft socks on tiny feet. Adam came by often. He always brought bananas pre-sliced, or small picture books, or just stories. Sometimes he stayed for dinner, sometimes only for a hug. But he always asked first. One evening, after Clara had gone to sleep, David handed me a wrapped package. "What's this?" "Something I've been working on," he said. Inside was a photo album, leather-bound, filled with printed photos. Us painting the apartment, standing outside the courthouse with our 2nd marriage license, the first sonogram, Clara's tiny hand gripping David's finger. On the inside cover, he had written, "Our family. Not inherited. Built." I ran my fingers over the words. "Thank you," I whispered. David looked at me, his expression soft. "For what?" "For choosing me," I said. Finally. Fully, he didn't answer. He just kissed me like he meant it, like the past was behind us, the future was ours, and nothing would ever come between us again. And so it stayed. We kept our names. We kept our keys. We kept our boundaries. Sarah never stepped across the line again, because this time the door wasn't just closed, it was locked. And we had the only copy,